record. So I hope you had success. Those are one-step equations. Today we're going to, as you would probably guess, we're going to move into two-step equations. All of these equations require 2 steps to solve. I have 8 examples for you. I don't imagine you're going to find this too difficult. And then here in about 15 minutes or so, when we are done with our notes, we'll open our Chromebooks again and our assignment will be waiting for us on the internet. Okay, so let's get to it. Today's the 27th. And yeah, these are 2-step equations. We will get to 3 and 4 and 5 and maybe 6-step equations eventually in the next week or so. But for now, these are all cut from a very similar cloth. 2-step equations will look like this. I can tell you that from what I know, I like to go through your Delta math assignments and just keep hitting next question, next question. I do that like 30 times just so I can see what you're going to get. Every answer that I saw in this assignment was a whole number or like an integer. I never saw any fractions. So I wrote today's lecture to be like that. So you will not get any fractions today. We shouldn't unless I wrote a bad problem. And I think the same can be said of your assignment. So if you're working through a problem and you get like 7 divided by 4, I'm pretty sure at this point today, that probably means you did something wrong. So anyhow, let's get to it. So these require 2 steps, and your thinking is still what it was yesterday. I got to get x by itself. So there are 2 numbers that have to die. They are -10 and 7. And which one has to go first? The -10. Good. So I feel like you've probably seen this before. Like you understand that the 7 that's attached to the x, we will pry him off eventually, but that'll be the last thing we do. How do we get rid of that -10? Yep. And my expectation is the same as it was yesterday and is the same as it will be tomorrow and Thursday and probably for another few weeks. And that is that we're going to show our work meticulously. So I'm going to add 10 like this, and I'm going to, again, do what I came for. I'm going to cancel out those 10s. And again, before you worry about the math, bring down the structure. Okay, to heck with the math problem. Let's build the foundation for the number to land in. So we bring the 7x down and we bring the equal sign down. And then you can worry about the math. What is -24 plus 10? It is -14. Yeah. So there we are now. And what happens is you do one step and then obviously we're back to where we were yesterday. How do we finish the job? We divide both sides by 7. And again, the work expectation is it's non-negotiable from my end. Like show it. Kill those.
-7 equals x.
So we're going to bring down our structure first, right? But I'm not even worried about any numbers at this point. I'm dropping my x and I'm dropping my equals. And finally, the answer. What is a -14 divided by a +7? -2. $14 divided evenly among 7 people, they each get 2. So negative, of course, because of the rules of math say so, 2 because it just makes sense. So once you feel good about it, same as before, form good habits, box it up. Remember, your box is an indication to the world that you're pretty sure you did a good job. Any questions on that one? All right, our next example is -4m plus 11 equals -13. What do we do first? Perfect answer. We agree that the -4 eventually has to go bye-bye, but we also agree that that happens last. So we're going to subtract 11 from both sides. Subtract, close it off. You should always have lines under your pluses and minuses, not between, but under to close them off, just like we did back in grade school. We're going to cancel out those 11s. And before we worry about math, we're going to bring down the structure. And then you can do math. And boy, do we just hope we don't mess this up. What's -13 minus 11?
-24.
All day long. I love it when that's always done well. It makes algebra so much more pleasant, right? When we don't have to talk about that. What do we do next? We divide both sides by what?
4.
There is no 4.
Negative.
There is, however, a -4. Dividing by 4 would hurt us because it wouldn't kill the negative, right? Like we want the whole thing to be gone. So we divide by -4, kill those out, and for the umpteenth time, bring down the structure. Don't worry about the math answer yet. Bring down your variable, bring down your equals. What's negative divided by negative? Positive. Yeah. Feel good about it. And just like before, you can check these answers if you want to know if it's right. You can go back to the very beginning of the problem and you could put your answer. It's like grading your own test. You could put your answer right there and work the problem out and see if it equals. Does the left side equal the right side? I stopped doing that. I did that for a few years early in my career, like 25 years ago. And I just decided that, kids, I think some kids do it naturally, some kids don't. And I didn't really want to force the issue. So I encourage you to, but that's up to you. All right, we're going to see a little bit of division now. So we have 10 equals negative k over 3 plus 14. What are we going to do first? Good job. Yep, we're certainly not worried about the 10, and the 3 will die, just not yet. So we will subtract 14 first. You guys, whoever taught you this seems to have gotten the point across very well, that the plus or minus part needs to go away first, right? Good job on that. So those cancel, and I'm not even looking at the 10 over there. I'm just not worried about it. I'm going to bring down the structure. So I'm going to bring down the negative. I'm going to bring down the k over 3 and the equals. It's like clearing out the landing strip. What is 10 minus 14? Glorious. And there we arrive now. One step down, one to go. How are we going to get k by itself now? We're going to multiply by not 3, -3. Good. Remember, by multiplying by the negative, we kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak. So when we put on our big parentheses like this, remember, no little dots and time signs. Parentheses are what we use. We multiply by -3 on both sides. And everything that we wanted to happen happens, like these -3 and these -3, gone. Gorgeous. It's exactly what we wanted. So we bring down the structure and then we hope and pray that the basics are good. What's -3 times -4? Perfecto. And once you feel good, box it, send it. Any questions on that? I'm going to skip the 4th example because my spidey sense is telling me that you don't need it. It's basically just the same as that one, and I don't think that we need that. So that was pretty straightforward. These last 4, I'm not going to skip any of them. What I tried to do is find all the problems that I think are likely for us to miss. And so these ones might be, they're not really hard. They're just, you might want to flag them in your notes as like, watch out. These get missed a lot. So what's interesting about this equation is that it looks so innocent. It looks like, God, how could somebody miss this? You'd be amazed at how many times we miss this. So do you think this is going to take 2 steps? Are there 2 things that need to die? There are. And a lot of times people say, well, no, that's not true, just the 13. But that's not right. The 13 does have to go away. But what else has to go away? The -1 or the negative that's attached to the y. Listen, a negative is no different than a number like a 2 or a 3. It has to be dealt with just like anything else would. So there are better ways to solve this than I'm going to show you right now. But for now, I'm going to show you the by the book classic way to solve this equation. And it is follow the steps, normal. Let's subtract 13 from both sides. I see a lot of students who want to add 13. And I get it because they're like, oh, there's a minus there. That minus doesn't belong to the 13, right? That's a positive 13. So if you want him to go, you have to subtract 13 like this. This is the classic way to solve this one. And then I'm going to murder off those 13s and I'm going to drop my equals and I'm going to drop my variable stuff structure. What's 15 minus 13? Good. And Josh said something a while ago that I don't imagine you probably didn't hear. But there is a number attached to y. What is it? It's -1. And you can't see it. You're like, are you hallucinating? Well, we know in math that when we don't see something that it's ×1. So if there's just a -y, it's actually -1y, right? So you don't have to acknowledge it as a -1. You can just call it a negative, like we all know what you mean. But at the end of the day, what winds up happening is then we divide both sides of this equation by negative or -1. Call it whatever you'd like. But that enables us then to say the deal is sealed, like the job is done. I have managed to get y now by itself. It's official. Cross out those, bring down the structure. Y equals what? Gorgeous. That is a very frequently missed concept in Algebra 1. When there's just a minus on a variable, we sometimes disrespect it in the sense that we forget that it's actually like a number. So give it full respect. Okay. This next one kind of gets missed for the same reason as its predecessor. And it is just, I don't know, negatives get a lot of disrespect, I think. So we agree that there are two things that have to happen. The first one that has to go is what? Right. The 48 is the standoff alone kind of on its own guy. So he needs to be moved away first. And how are we going to make him go poof? Subtract, because he's a positive 48. So we're going to subtract 48 right there. And we're going to subtract 48 right there. And close them off just like that. And then we're going to just do the house cleaning part where we just tend to some items. We're going to cross out those 48s. What's going to come down on the left side? No, you nailed it. The negative and the x/4. Like all of that survived the first kill, right? That's huge. That this, if I had $1 for every time this minus sign got ignored, I could probably pay off like half my house. Like really, it happens all the time. So when a minus is there and you kill the thing in front of it, the minus survives and drops now as a negative. Okay. Just like the last problem. And then we're going to bring down the equals, and then we do have to do math. You never get away from the basic math there. What's 41 minus 48? -7. Keith, are you with us? It looked like you might be dozing off there, Keith. Okay, good. So one step to go. What do we do now? By -4. Very good. And again, everything that we wanted to happen happens. This -4 just wipes out this whole -4 idea. And we're left right where we want to be with our x alone. And hey, look what it comes back to. Again, basic math. What's -7 times -4? Positive. Plug it back in if you want. Check it once you're feeling like really good. Box it up. Feel good? 2 more examples? Nothing to it, right? Okay. Let's do -8 minus m equals -15. What has to go first? Nice. And how are we going to make it go poof? We're going to, yeah, add 8, right. So we're going to add 8 right here. Like this. And again, I'm trying to train into you to not do the math. It's like the 100th time I've said this, I think. I hope I'm getting my point across. Don't math yet. Structure. So drop your -8 to your +8s, drop your negative, drop your m, drop your equals, then do the math. What is -15 plus 8?
7, -7.
-7 all day long. Exactly. Perfect. And here we are faced again with that pesky leftover negative. And again, that he's a minus. When you take the one I'm circling in yellow, it's a verb called minus. It's an action word. But when you take away whatever's in front of a minus, it changes to an adjective called negative. I say this like, you know, if I put this math problem up on the board, what would you read it to me as out loud? If you hear yourself saying it like as a verb, an action, 5, take away, -4. But as soon as I erase the 5, read me that number, -4. So just kind of be aware of that as we go through the year. The difference, the minuses and negatives, and they have different buttons on your calculator too, right? If you've ever gotten like a syntax error, it's probably because you tried to use a negative for subtraction or vice versa. So negative m equals -7. What do we divide by?
1, -1.
Right. And you can just put negative if you'd like. I wanted to show you that. Okay. Dividing by a negative is something math people say. And then you wind up with m equals +7. If that bothers you, then just put -1. It's all good. No worries. So far, so good? Okay. Uno más. And then it's work time. 124. Ooh. Minus 8K equals 100. What do we do first? Absolutely. Let's take away that 124 because he's a positive. Who survives on the left side? I love that you said -8K. That was gorgeous. And hey, for the 198th time in this lovely school year, once again, we have to rely on 5th grade arithmetic. Here it goes. What's 100 minus 124? It is negative all day long, 24. Love that. What do we do now? Gorgeous. Divide by -8. Drop your K and drop your equals, and then math. What do we get? That concludes today's notes. Here's what I'll do. I'll leave the recording alive but paused. And then when someone says, hey, can we go over this one together? I'll put it on the recording and y'all are welcome to listen or not, whatever. But for now, your assignment's on Delta Math. It's assignment number 2. Hopefully you're done with number 1.